have breaking inputs that are just trickling in. It's regarding the oil prices that have crashed sharply. Brent crude has fallen about 16% to $90 to $93 per barrel right after markets opened. The drop was triggered by surprise 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran, which has eased fears of major supply disruption. Key condition that Iran will reopen the Strait of Hormuz, something we've also heard of by Abbas Araghchi himself. So while all the developments are taking place regarding the ceasefire in place, Strait of Hormuz, that will also be reopening, markets rally as oil risks disruption are allayed. Strait reopening, which has cooled off global oil tensions. So temporary truce that send crude prices lower. Let's go across to Mr. Kuznik again. Kuznik, we were talking about the economic costs earlier. How do you see things easing here on with ceasefire in place and Strait of Hormuz opening and oil prices now easing?
Well, Iran is clearly still in control of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has said that anybody who wants to send ships through will have to negotiate with the Iranian government, Iranian military, and it looks like they're going to be charging some pretty hefty tolls for those ships. And they're framing that as effectively the equivalent of reparations because they've got so much damage of Iranian infrastructure that they're going to need to rebuild. They want the sanctions to be lifted. They want the U.S. and Israel to pay reparations. Will Trump go along with that? Netanyahu go along with that? I was seeing more and more demonstrations inside Israel and growing opposition in Israel to this war. Because I know initially 93% of the Israeli population, at least the Jewish population in Israel, was supporting this war. So I'm glad to see that changing inside of Israel. And I'm very glad to see what's happening domestically in the United States, because during most wars, it takes years to build up such a strong anti-war sentiment. This time, it exploded overnight. The American people did not want this war. And the American people learned from Vietnam and Panama in 1989 and Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya and Syria, that they didn't want to be lied into another war. And Trump, when George W. Bush invaded Iraq in 2003, he spent more than a year lying to the American people about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction. He at least tried to convince the American people this was legitimate. Trump didn't even make the effort. Trump's mentally, people in the United States think that Trump now, his mental state is worse than Biden's was when Biden hit the low point. And so, we're not out of danger yet because Trump still has access to nuclear weapons.
Yes, Mr. Kuznik, very quickly, if I were to get your thoughts on the War Powers Act, with ceasefire in place, do you think this can still be invoked, given that the Democrats have already put out a statement and have even called on the Republicans to join in their campaign to urge President to put an end to all this?
Yes, I think that it's got momentum and it needs to be enacted. Congress has got to take back the power over war. It was never given to the president. And Trump is not the first president. The last time the United States actually declared a war was 1941.
All right.
World War II.
Yes. Mr. Kuznik, that's all the time we have. We'll have to leave the discussion at this, and we hope better sense prevails and ceasefire does hold over the next 2 weeks. Thank you for speaking to WION.
Thank you for inviting me.